Welcome to WACEPC Radio. I'm your host, Marcos P. Duran, and today we're going to have a guest. One of the writers of RevolutionaryReport.net is Emiliano Duran Jefferson. Now, Emiliano has been a warrior on the front lines against the New World Order for about half a decade, and he's here to talk to us about what's going on currently. What's going on, Emiliano?
Hey, what's going on? Not much. Just here, hanging out on the coast of Oregon. How's everything going over there in El Paso?
It's going on all right, man. Just trying to do something, trying to spread the word. People are lazy and basically slobs.
Yeah. I hear that. I deal with that here on the constant. How's the, We Are Change? I heard, looked on the website and you have a We Are Change.
Yeah, we're
over there in El Paso.
Yeah, like I said, this is WACEPC Radio. We Are Change El Paso commentary radio, and we're just trying to do big things here. But quickly, man, tell us about yourself, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you got started and who you are.
All right. Well, I was born on the front line. I was born in La Frontera, 87. So I got a little bit of both worlds as far as dealing with some of the racism happening in Mexico and some of the stuff happening in the United States. As far as Mexico goes, there is a lot of anti-American sentiments happening there. There was a lot of racism, a lot of stereotypes, So I grew up somewhat around that environment, but then I got to feel it firsthand. I moved to the U.S. and discovered that all of the stereotypes were not true, they were myths. And usually a tool like stereotyping or racism is a tool for control. So when you change someone's opinion, you change also their output, what they can see around the world. And I got started as far back as 2006, 2007. I started reading a little bit. Mostly my awakening came from InfoWars radio host Alex Jones, who had this presentation about Bohemian Grove. Now, I didn't know anything about any political, I didn't know any banksters, I didn't know anything about foreign offshore drilling companies, I didn't know anything about Illuminati, none of that. And the first thing I saw was Bohemian Grove, and it captivated me that, one, a person like that who had so much courage, to go in there and infiltrate a criminal organization like the Bohemian Grove, but at the same time, expose and talk about it with intelligence, what's happening, not just blind prejudice, as most groups do, just blind prejudice. You have the right-wingers saying the liberals are all this, all fitting them in this mold, and then they got the left-wings being like, oh, you right-wings, anybody with conservative values or right-wingers.
Like Alan Combs, and you got the Glenn Beck.
Sean Hannity.
Right, Sean Hannity especially. These people try to keep you on the left, right.
It's not even like that. The world is not a fake left and right paradigm. It's not black and white. There's many shades in between. There's many atoms in the universe. It's multifaceted.
Right. Tell us a little bit, Emiliano, about how you would describe the New World Order. What is the New World Order to you, man?
Well, the way I see it is, and this is the same way I describe Illuminati. When people around here have come up to me and asked me, what is Illuminati, how to describe it, the best thing I can say is it's not necessarily a group of people. It's mostly a philosophy. There are, in fact, Trilateral Commission and Council on Foreign Affairs and the Bilderberg Group. There are groups that are physically there, but they handle different angles of the same system. They handle different gears, the same way an engine would work with different parts.
Right.
They're different groups that they follow the basic same philosophy.
But they pretty much, from what I understand, they pretty much have the same agenda, which is world domination and a global government. Isn't that correct?
It's a global positioning on a global chessboard, basically. The way that they took out Libya, the way that they take out Iran, they've taken out, in the Middle East, Iraq was one of the higher, they had 92% of Iraq had clean water access to everybody, and 93% of higher standard of living, high education, and healthcare. And as soon as we invaded Iraq now, 80% of them don't even have a clean sewage system, and 50% of Iraqis don't even have clean water.
You know what?
And they're doing the same strategy in Libya, one of the higher GPD nations in North Africa.
Right.
They're taking out the big dogs.
It's funny that you mentioned Libya, because I was going to bring it up, but also on the same note, you talk about Iraq, and you know I have it on my website, and most people that know me understand that I went to Iraq. I deployed to Iraq twice in the U.S. Army, and yes, it is true. It is true. I mean, these people are living in cardboard boxes. I mean, these are some of the first civilizations on the planet and the world for humanity, and they are the most poor. So what does that tell you about our position there? I mean, what is basically they've been plagued by war and geopolitics from the surrounding countries, and you know, Libya, from what I understand, they're trying to take out Gaddafi, but they haven't been successful as of yet. And who is they? I'm talking about the people who want globalism. You know, these globalists. They want to take out countries like Libya because, you know, it's been really hitting me a lot lately that the whole thing is that we're trying to surround Iran, and these countries are around Iran. And once these globalists, these people who really believe in a global government, once they overthrow these countries, they want to put dictators in there, or, you know, so-called democratic presidents, so that one day they will vote to bomb Iran to protect Israel. And that's another thing that I wanted to ask you about, Emiliano. What is your view on our foreign policy protecting the interest of Israel?
Well, I think with Israel there are many implications. A lot of neoliberalism, and neoliberalism, I want to point out that is responsible for a lot of the liberal guilt and the more of the support the underdog kind of thing. And due to the history of Israel, as far back as World War II, they were considered the victims. They were the ones victimizing.
The Jews.
After World War II, Israel got established as a state, but before that, the Jews were persecuted by Hitler. This, in turn, allowed the newly formed United Nations to give them a state, but then it was over a territory that was Palestinian at first, so the conflict with them has been going on forever.
Right.
You have a lot of right-wingers, a lot of, well, I'd not classify the right-wingers particularly, but a lot
I think it's both sides, actually.
Most generally are right-wingers.
Neocons.
Extremist Christians, anyway. Support Israel because of the history of the Old Testament. They were around that area. And this is where it gets complex. You have the neoliberalism saying, okay, you know, they're the underdogs, let's protect them. And you have some extreme Christian groups saying, yeah, let's protect them too. They're saying human rights. They claim it's the human rights, but then again, Israel, I'm not talking about the race, I'm talking about Israel as the state, as the corrupt government that it has.
The country.
Israel is also persecuting the Palestinians, and they're violating just as many human rights as Hitler did. And some people will get upset, but that is the fact, that is the reality of it. And to help Israel...
Yeah, recently I had a conversation with a neocon, and it's interesting to me because just lately, like I said, it's been hitting me. I'm starting to understand what's going on. And this neocon said, yeah, but we need to get rid of these brown people with these towel heads and these jihadists and all this because, you know, they're trying to attack Israel. And I'm like, okay. And then I had other conversations that I've had throughout my life. And, yeah, Israel and the Jews have a long history, right, of having a covenant with God. I mean, that's well known. And this is not anti-Semitic or this or that. Look, I'm Mexican. I was born in Mexico.
I'm not implying that myself either.
Listen, I was born in Mexico. I became a citizen of the United States. I have no problem with Jews, all right? But when it starts to get complicated is when for example, this neocon that I was talking about, he says, yeah, we need to protect Israel. I'm like, okay, so the Jews are the chosen people, and innocent people have to die, so we protect Israel. But at the same time, I mean, I'm boiling it down, because it's obviously a long conversation. But lately I've been starting to think to myself, where does that put the rest of us, who I'm sure Christ, is blessing? Where does that put the rest of us? We have to die to protect the country of Israel, and then also the point that many people are making is, so you're going to worship the country of Israel instead of following the Lord, which is Christ, right? I mean, how does that make sense? And our foreign policy is based around protecting the interest of Israel. And like I said, I mean, I was in the United States Army, and I have a difficult time with that because we're paying the price here at home. Oil is going up, the economy is going to hell. We have false flag terrorism in this country to justify our occupations in the Middle East. I mean, it's crazy.
There's a lot of examples, countless.
And the last broadcast,
bombing, 9/11. There's
Operation Northwoods. On the last broadcast, I was talking about Operation Northwoods and how the Gulf of Tonkin it came out that it was a staged event, and the National Security Agency released a document. I don't have the name of the particular article here with me, but I will put it down. I will put it down in the section. It's just crazy, man. This is just what's been on my mind lately, personally. But continuing with the news, I want to get your take. Have you been following the news? Do you know that the President Obama released his birth certificate?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I heard about that. Yeah, and you have on the side a little circus going on between Obama and Donald Trump, who supposedly conjured up this document to show to the press that he's not legit. But then again, on the same right, who's Trump to say whether he has credentials? It seems like he's positioning himself to run. If he runs as a Democrat, where are his credentials? If he runs as a Republican, where are his credentials? So he's mostly a clown. He may be witty in the business world, but he has no political experience.
That's interesting you say that, because that's what Senator Rand Paul said about Donald Trump, because Rand Paul is a newly elected senator and he's a Republican, and he was kind of taking shots at Donald Trump like, who are you, buddy? And guess what?
Yeah.
Our intelligence network, which is the alternative media, has revealed that Donald Trump has actually donated more money to the Democratic Party than the Republican Party. I don't think he's even donated money to the Republican Party. But in other words, what I'm saying is he's a Democrat running as a Republican, trying to take votes from somebody like Mitt Romney, or perhaps our main, statesman, Ron Paul, who Donald Trump obviously doesn't like Ron Paul. He publicly said that he will never be president. So think about it. If he runs, he's going to take votes away from Ron Paul, and therefore, by default, make Obama have a second term, which is disgusting.
Yeah, that would be repeating Bush all over again. Would you vote? That previous election was
John
a joke.
Kerry,
would you vote for the Democrat who you don't like, vote against him, or vote for
Republican,
the warmongering Republican Bush and his bloodline family to continue this Middle East distortion and
nightmare, man,
and just chaos, spreading of that chaos of their agenda? It seemed like this election might position itself that way, but I think over the last 3 years, Ron Paul has gotten a lot more views and a lot more supporters. His last campaign in 2008, or 2007, he got well over $1 million raised out of donations.
The man has been in politics for about 20 years.